Hello and welcome to another episode of Anyways, a discussion of Deadwood, episode by episode. We are today talking about Mr. Wu, which is the 10th episode of the first season of Deadwood. I'm Ben.
I'm Jordan.
I'm Chad.
And I want to say about this episode before we start going through the scenes that this is the last episode of Jimmy Irons, played by Dean Rader Duvall, who gives a great unsung performance as a very, very polite opium addict who we see, and it's just, I love his performance. He gets thrown, he shits his pants, is thrown off a balcony, and is drowned in a bathtub. But throughout all of it, he's unfailingly polite.
He is, yeah. I like, even when he's shitting his pants. Sorry, when he's pooing himself.
Yes.
Even in moments of poo.
To Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons. A gentleman, even when he poos himself.
A great performance.
Seema.
Let's start going through the episode. I think we start out with Seth Bullock is working on his new role as health commissioner, and he's sitting at his desk. And Saul wants him to go out and eat breakfast at the Central Hotel. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, Bullock is like upset or just, well, he's always upset.
He's miffed about everything.
He's miffed about being health commissioner, and he wish he hadn't even raised his hand for the damn thing.
Yeah, but he's like, doesn't he say basically like he's doomed to always do shit like this because he's always, it's just his nature.
He feels put upon by his own nature. Yeah.
yeah. Well, he says he's moved 300 miles to put himself in the same
situation that he was back in Montana or whatever.
Yep. But what's so funny is that he's like, looks like he wants to kill Farnham so much that Farnham actually points that out, and he just stares at him.
Like, you want to wring my neck? He's just smiling.
Yeah, he didn't say shit. He just stares at him.
But it's only about health and safety regulations,
right?
And proper waste disposal.
Yes.
And like, even when it's not a life and death matter, he still wants to hurt people.
Yes.
And it's funny.
It is funny and very strange. Mm-hmm. He's just a very angry person.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Farnham says that the lion's share, as he did last episode, of the money needs to go to the bribes, not taking care of the town. And he's very clear on that point.
Yes.
Anyway,
they get into a huge argument about that, him and Bullock, don't they?
A kerfuffle.
Yeah. About him being like, well, whatever the fuck's left over, then we'll put it back into health and safety, I guess. Or
Yep.
Whatever's
Farm's
left.
like, I'll take it under advisement.
Yeah, exactly. he's fully transitioned into his mayor walk and everything.
Always nice talking to the health and safety commissioner.
Yeah, he has a very nice coat now. I think he has a new coat.
Yep.
And
of which Al makes fun of him for.
He needs the name of a new tailor.
Yeah.
He has like a very like gussied up little like cravat thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like the shoulders aren't moth eaten, and he just walks down the thoroughfare, and like there's a horse, and he's very happy.
Mm-hmm. Right. He has to. I'll make way for you here.
Yeah.
Like as the fucking horse walks in front of him, and then that's when he tries to go in, then
but the tit licker heads him off at the pass.
Tit licker comes in, and then also at the same time,
Mr.
Wu shows up, of which Mr. Wu up until this point has just been like somebody in the background. Kind of you throw him to the pigs, and that's it. And I know a bunch of people that have seen the show and are always talking about Mr. Wu, and I'm always all right, I don't know what's up with Mr. Wu. You get to fucking see what's up with Mr. Wu in this episode.
This episode should have been called "What's Up with Mr. Wu."
What was your impression of Mr. Wu, Chad? What did you think of him?
I thought he was fantastic. He comes in the front door, and what's that dipshit's name?
Johnny.
Johnny's like, hell no, you gotta go in the back damn way, and he closes the damn gym up. He's like, no, we ain't doing this. You gotta go back, go back out, go around, go in the back, and he just stands there, right, and just staring at him, and he's like, Swearengen or whatever he says, Swearengen.
Johnny is a very dumb character, but he's usually pretty gentle.
Yes.
And
well-meaning dope.
Yes.
Yeah. And
he gets violently angry at this point because of his racism.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
He can't handle the fact that
everyone's racism.
A Chinese person, Mr. Wu, is entering the front door of their establishment because he has a long-standing business relationship. This episode emphasized everything in Deadwood is only 2 months old.
Right.
But he has a relatively long-standing business relationship with Swearengen.
Yes.
And even the prostitutes, stare and stop and look at Mr. Wu. And it just hammers home on all of our main characters, or most of our main characters, are incredibly racist to all the Chinese inhabitants of Deadwood.
Yeah.
And
although a weird exception to this, I think, out of necessity, is I mean he's still racist, but it's Swearengen.
yeah,
He comes out of the top of the stairwell out of his office,
Right.
and he looks down and he's like, this doesn't matter to him. He's like, all right, send him up.
He's already in. Just send him up.
Yeah, just say, do you want him to go back out the
You
back?
want me
Come
to
back?
send him back around?
No, just fucking
bring
send him
him
up the goddamn stairs.
Yeah.
like a lot of time when Swearengen is making fun of someone for their ethnicity, he also does it with like making fun of effeminate gestures and on men or perceived homosexuality. He often uses it very clearly just to gain favor with his underlings.
Yes.
And like basically as a way to dominate anyone in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like his main goal in any conversation is to catch somebody off guard with an insult.
Yes.
And he'll use whatever insult he can, but he doesn't seem like he's really that sincere in his
Right.
racism
He's got like
or
a wry
xenophobia.
smile about it. Like it's he's just trying to get a rise out of most people.
Right.
And yeah.
Which I think gets to kind of the heart of racism in general, is that it's always used by the upper echelon to keep the lower people fighting amongst each other and stuff, and that's kind of what Al knows and does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's always looking for the metaphorical stabbing in the heart of everyone.
Yes.
And
Right.
It's like, because it makes him feel better.
Yes.
And he needs to feel comfortable. But all the people, the prostitutes in this episode, again, you usually feel very sorry for them. But they go out of their way to do, in the background, some of the extras that Doc Cochran is taking care of later, go out of their way to make like offensive, obscene gestures, similar to Jack McCall.
Yeah.
And it causes Doc Cochran, again, I'll jump ahead a little bit. Doc Cochran makes fun of one of the prostitutes' genitalia, says that every time she laughs, she pees.
Yeah.
Basically because he's so offended. By
She was making fun of.
Jewel, or was she?
No, she was making fun of the Reverend who was kicking his heels up.
I thought she was making fun of Mr. Wu.
She was doing like one.
Oh, okay.
Droopy eye kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
while he was down there, and everyone was dancing around him and playing.
Oh, you're
piano.
right.
Right.
I was
And
interpreting
it was
some
an
of,
unkind thing to make fun of, and Doc Cochran wasn't having it.
I was interpreting some of her gestures as racial gestures about Mr. Wu.
Yeah,
Which happens constantly in the show too, so it's hard to.
It could have been a 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But so Mr. Wu goes upstairs, and then Al and him talk.
Yeah.
Well, they try to talk.
They converse.
Well, I'm sorry. Quote talk.
Yeah.
He pulls out a
Aids.
piece of paper and starts drawing, and it goes to another scene while that.
It goes back downstairs where we see Farnham wait as the tit licker, who is a John of the gym who likes to. We learned from 2 episodes ago, likes to lick nipples in a row.
Yeah, he sets up 3 ladies in a row and then tries to lick all of the nipples in one go.
one pass.
In one pass, and if
he does not allow him, and if he misses one, he does not allow himself to retrace his steps.
and
then he leaves.
And he, again, probably
Satisfied for the day.
probably one of the better characters just for the fact that he doesn't murder anybody, and he seems obsessed with like maybe non-violent things. Farnham says of him, "I begrudge that pervert his capacity for happiness."
I love that expression, or that whole thought is. I was thinking about that while I was watching the episode. Like, just so many things in this show are beautifully put, and that's one of them.
And it's very on point. Like Farnham would be good if Farnham could be happy.
Yeah.
Begrudge him his capacity for happiness.
So do we go back to Mr. Wu then?
I feel like there's something else we talked down. Farnham is there. Johnny is talking about how he believes that all Asian people worship a fat man seated on his ass.
Oh yeah, they get into the.
There's a few other. I feel like there's some jumping around, but as far as I can tell from the synopsis, let's just go back up with Mr. Wu.
I like too. Well, it's problematic. That Al, there are people in the show who seem overtly racist to the point that they get riled up.
Yeah.
When they see certain things.
Sure. Like
Al's a
violently
businessman.
angry. Yeah.
Al doesn't really care except to keep up appearances.
Yes.
I feel, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I need to be able to talk to this guy because it messes up my business if I don't.
I'll do business with whoever. I don't give a shit unless it inconveniences me.
If you remove all business interest from any situation, I really don't think he cares one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a nihilist.
Yeah. he's not somebody who has convictions about race, I don't think.
Well, he has convictions about money, and he repeatedly says, at least twice, like you said, that if he shows too much deference to Mr. Wu, then he's afraid that the whites in the camp will...
Right. It's about what messes with his game.
That's where it starts and stops for him, is money.
Yeah.
And so, okay, well, let's go back upstairs to where
Mr.
Wu has drawn out this picture, and Swearengen is getting upset because he can't figure out what the fuck Mr. Wu's talking about, and he's drawn these two dudes with guns, and then there's another guy who's like face down, and he's like, "Who the fuck is this? What's going on?" Cocksucker. And then he's like, "Well, I'm glad you learned one fucking word."
Yeah. White cocksucker.
White cocksucker.
And there's this play on words with woo and who, and it's like a vaudeville.
Oh, right.
Right. Who's on
first bit? Yeah. It's like, woo, who? Not who.
And Wu is so mad that his voice is breaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
he's violently angry.
As soon as Al understands what's going on, he gets violently mad.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then
they're like on the same page.
They're on the same page about we need to find these cocksuckers.
United in outrage.
Yes, and put them in the fucking pen with the pigs.
And this is probably one of the most famous scenes in the show, is the scene between Wu and Al Swearengen, I think. It's the one.
Yeah. Well, anytime I think about Wu and Swearengen, it's that type of encounter. It's the drawing and all that stuff. Yeah.
So through the course of this, you also figure out where the dope is coming from, which I don't think we'd really known before, right?
I don't know that it's been explicitly said, but yeah, Wu is the provider.
It's coming in from China through California, and then he has a guy that's bringing it up to Deadwood. And so then we start to figure out why
Swearengen likes Wu a lot.
White likes him a whole lot.
Yeah.
And it's not just to throw people to the pigs, which, could be
That's
like, take it or leave it. It's like kill him and give somebody else the pigs.
You could take him out on a sled and dump him in the woods.
Yeah, but but he's got something that Al desperately needs, which makes him his friend.
But again, Al is cool for that. He has a business relationship, and he's better for it and less racist than almost many of the other characters.
And to jump ahead, I mean, like, even when he goes to see Wu at his own place of business with the freezer and all that stuff, Al is there putting on a show for all of Wu's workers.
There's a mutual thing going on there where they both...
Yes. Al shows him respect in
front of his guys.
Because Wu at the gym
is like Al level... guy where they are. You know, he's kind of
in the Chinese
Wu's probably
district.
not a very nice person either.
No, but we wouldn't know.
Right, yeah.
We see all these Chinese extras.
They all seem terrified of him.
They seem very scared of him.
Yes. And Al's over there raising his voice and
keeping
stuff.
up that.
And then Dan, in that scene, does Dan say something where he's like,
when he gives him the meat.
Okay,
Dan asks like
Dan is trying to follow Al's instruction to keep up appearances like it's a good cut of meat.
Yeah.
And then Al,
good meat.
And he's like, "Oh, damn it, you took me again, Wu, for everything I got." And he's like, Dan's like, why are we doing this and stuff? He's like, they can't even understand what you're saying. He's like, but they understand my tone.
Right.
He's that's the important part.
And funnily, Al then forgets that instruction, and then Dan is still praising the meat. And Al's just like, look, you can cut off a piece of it for yourself and eat it later.
Yeah.
And then Dan just looks at him like, what?
No,
I thought we were doing the thing. We're doing the
good
bit.
meat.
I love that. But inside the meat locker is where they hash out, because he finds this is I guess way later, but they hash out who did it, because Dan finds what's his name, Johnny, what is his name,
Jimmy Irons and Leon.
Jeremy Irons and Leon, who's Leon's the guy from the
red-haired opium addict
from the Bell Union that's supposedly was going to be Al's inside guy and has not worked out at all.
They just immediately went and stole.
They just start doing dope together and fucking off. But so then they're in the meat locker, Al and Wu, and they're talking about, I found the cocksuckers. I found the white cocksuckers. And like
this is all that's left.
And this is all that's left. This tiny little ball. He's like, oh, he's so fucking angry. Wu's like wants to fucking have these guys' heads. And Al's like, you can't have two of them.
Yeah.
It's like I can't make that happen. Everybody would perceive me as I favor Chinese people, which is not going to go over well in this.
And
racist
Sai's
camp.
looking to exploit that.
Exactly, and he knows that.
Yeah.
And so
it's
so he's like
3D chess going
like,
on there.
Yeah, he's like, I can give you one. And he's like, Wu's so mad, and he's like, 2, and he's like, no, 1. I can give you one cocksucker,
not 2.
And he's like, 1 cocksucker, and puts down his other finger.
No 2.
And
Yeah.
he's like, no 2. He's like, okay, and they come to that understanding.
Even
then.
when he was leaving, like after he's like,
he does it again.
How much for that? Yeah, and then he's like, you take it. And I was okay. And as they're walking out, like he doesn't even say a word. He just looks at him. He goes, and Wu nods, and then he goes, and Wu says no.
Yeah, and he goes no. Yeah.
All right.
So we have an
just to make
understanding.
sure, just to double
we have an understanding
confirm here.
So in this thing that we just skipped ahead to, the messenger guy shows up.
Oh,
Adams.
Silas Adams. Yeah.
Silas Adams, which I recognize that actor from a bunch of
Titus
stuff.
Welliver. He was in Lost, and
he has his own show, Bosch, which will prevent him from appearing in the new movie, sadly.
Oh, that's
will it prevent him? Mm-hmm. That sucks, man.
It sucks.
Yeah.
I like Adams.
So he shows up. That's during the same period where
you're
everybody's
right.
coming and
That
going in
happens.
the gym.
That happens. Okay, let's go back to the start of the show. I think, I'm not sure if it's after the meeting with Mr. Wu, but Farnham and Swearengen are counting bribes to be sent, right?
Yeah.
And basically Adams comes in and he's hot off the trail, and he's got a bit of a swagger to how he walks, and that kind of weird haircut. And Swearengen gets angry at the messenger, and he wants to kill the messenger literally. He says an anachronistic swear word. He calls him a motherfucker.
Right.
And
after he opens up the letter from the magistrate and reads what's inside, we don't exactly know what's going on yet.
We learn it's the warrant.
Yeah.
He's saying
he
it's going to take more of a bribe.
It can be more than $5,000, which is kind of insane.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess because he sent the $5,000, the magistrate was like, if he could do $5,000, he could do more.
He didn't seem to flinch at that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the magistrate seems so cool and like legal.
Yeah.
Last time we saw him.
That was the guy.
I did not even realize that until just a second. That's the same guy.
Who he wasn't offering the blowjob personally to.
Yeah. Right. The guy who was the judge.
Yeah.
Right.
The cool reading glasses.
Yes.
Marshall Bell.
And he even says in person the $5,000 thing, and he's like, "Okay, wow, I didn't even put that together." Okay,
but he's upped his requirement
now that he's out of town and can't get his throat slit.
Yeah, and so Swearengen takes all his bribes off the table.
Yes,
he and Farnham. There's another nice moment where Farnham is licking his thumb as he separates the money. And
aren't your palms already fucking sweaty enough? Why do you gotta fucking sit there and lick your thumbs every time in between every goddamn bill?
And so he casually threatens to murder him. To create a stump instead of a thumb. Farnham just laughs it off. And they also note that they're 2 bribes to the same person. And he's like, just go ahead and include them both.
Because that way I can hold it over that guy later.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Which is nice.
And he has to like double down and be like, do not steal any of this money.
Please, for fuck's sake.
I need to know that when I tell them what they got paid.
And I look at my ledger and I can say, I paid them $300.
Yeah.
I'm not selling them something and they go, you only gave me $100.
Mm-hmm. Right,
fucking EB!
He's incorrigible.
But, again, this is a little bit better relationship between Al and Farnham in that, he's not about to slit Farnham's throat.
Yeah.
And he's acknowledging that Farnham steals from him without going into a rage.
Right.
He's literally less likely to kill.
There's been lots of humanizing of Al of late.
Yes. And the other way with Sai.
Yeah.
You mean you see nothing redeemable in Sai?
Well, I'm not saying nothing, but I'm saying they're making it more like, oh, okay, he's a monster.
Kind of a crisscross.
Yeah, he's a horrible monster too.
The devil versus
versus this guy who just rode into town and is seems now psychotic.
Mm-hmm. Also, one thing that happens early in the episode is the Grand Hotel or the Central Hotel, Farnham's hotel, is packed. It has like a tremendous number of people in line, and Joni Stubbs is sitting at a table, and she invites Charlie over
right
to her table,
and she acts like, "Oh, you're supposed to meet me,"
Yeah.
so that she'll get a seat for him or whatever.
So she's got a friend in Charlie, but not too much of a friend, because later she's like, "You should go walking with your friends."
Yeah, exactly.
So she kind of like, there's a sense that maybe he was courting her, but then she kind of like sends him on his way.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like, because I wasn't present for the episode where they first, or was I?
Oh, you weren't here for the episode
for when they first kind of talked. And,
Sure.
Yeah. But it is like I think a friendship kind of thing there. And, and she saw him standing all bunched up with all those people, and she's like, "I'm sitting here by myself. You know, you come sit with me."
Yeah, they're plenty cordial to each other. I think like she could kind of see that he wanted to go hang out with the boys. A little bit.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay.
I think
go on.
I believe I feel like Charlie Utter's pretty harmless and similar to Ellsworth in that way.
Yeah.
In this episode, Alma Garrett comes down to breakfast, and everyone stands up to nod to her, and she looks very cool in her attire. And then Merrick stands up and
he's too far under the table, and his legs keep trying to knock the table.
And then he starts talking to her, and he says he just keeps blabbering.
Yeah.
And then I felt like
you just described Merrick.
Yeah.
Yes.
I felt your hatred of Merrick rising.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh.
He's just such a bumbling fool.
Well, the show knows it too, because
the show totally knows it.
Because they up the ante like constantly in that scene.
Yes.
Like he's like his ties in his food and his glasses fall off his face.
And it's not even hatred necessarily at this point. It's
exasperation.
Exasperation, and he's just so fucking pathetic. He is just such a pathetic individual.
He's a very powerful head of the newspaper publishing empire in
Yes,
Deadwood.
that's easily bribed and easily told what to print.
But he controls the press,
but
and
he maintains a level of what's the word? He's like naive. Whether
Yes.
it's like
it's a cloak that he wears.
It is
because in that way nobody feels like threatened by him.
Right, and so he,
he's just a bumbling fucking moron.
he's easily bribed and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but he would be dumb to any of that.
Yeah.
Or he wouldn't see. Well, I don't take bribes. What?
Of course, yeah. He doesn't.
He's not aware of
He's
how
not
bought
self-aware.
and paid. Yeah,
he's not self-aware
exactly.
at all. He's not self-aware in the least.
That's a good way to put it.
He's a bumbling fucking moron.
He puts his ass too close to the face of an angry
Get your
man.
ass out of my shoulder.
And then Charlie Utter stands up.
Charlie Utter
like
threatens,
slapped the back of his neck.
threatens the shit out of this guy for messing with his friend.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that
And
lends
that
more
describes
credence.
Charlie.
I think that lends more credence to
Yeah.
like me saying earlier, like they're like, "Oh, we're gonna leave. You want to come with us?" And he's like, "Oh no," and then she's like, "Go ahead with your buddies," because like he really did want to go. It's like, if he cares that much to like threaten that guy to like, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass.
Right.
It's like for
being rude.
For being rude to my friend. Then he wanted to go, and so they all go outside and they take a stroll.
Yeah.
And
Merrick
Merrick
gets the wrong idea and wants to form a club.
Merrick is lamenting the fact that they can't, sit in the fucking hotel anymore and have lunch and talk and all that stuff because suddenly the town has become like
overrun. Is that like Gold Rush stuff or
I don't know, but it's like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah,
since
it
went from like
It's
nothing.
a gold rush.
Since it went from like nothing to
people
like
are arriving
right on there.
Yeah, they have to step over a man who's passed out drunk. In the middle of the-
There's so much shit in the frame they're trying to avoid.
And you know
all
what?
this
I wonder
stuff.
how much of that is tourism because of Wild Bill. I don't know how
That's
much
true, too.
how that news has gotten out.
Yeah, but maybe
people might
at
just
this,
be coming to
maybe
town
at this
for that,
point
too.
it might have gotten out,
And also the
and
Treaty
have
of
Charlie
Sioux.
found out about it.
give them enough time to get there, and the treaty, yeah.
The Treaty of the Sioux. And Merrick makes a really good point, which is he's like, why do we need Farnham's crappy food, which has insects in it?
Yeah.
And all, to have a conversation and
Yeah.
to enjoy, what we like is the companionship.
We'll take a
And
stroll.
This freaks all these dudes out.
Yeah.
Like they can't handle the fact that he basically refers to the idea of meeting just for friendship
Yes.
and not for grub.
Yeah.
And
It's like you're
And they're-
making it too official there, buddy.
Right, exactly, because he wants what's the name of the
Ambulators.
ambulators, which is what we should have called this. We should have called this podcast the ambulators.
we can call it that.
Yeah.
It's too late.
Moving forward from this point.
Anyways, / ambulators.
The show is anyways. We are the ambulators.
There we go. There we go. We
Maybe
are the
ambulators
ambulators.
mount up.
Ambulators mount up.
Warren G. Never mind. But what I really like is that of Bullock, Utter, and Saul Starr, only Saul Starr recognizes what Merrick is saying, which is that he wants to see them even as the hotel becomes too crowded.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he enjoys and relies on their companionship.
He doesn't want them to split up because there's no room to sit.
Right, yeah. That is a thing that I do feel sort of...
I feel for Merrick.
I kind of feel bad
scene.
for Merrick because, in spite of himself, he does just want friends.
Yeah.
And
but
he likes this, and he doesn't want it to get away from him. And
he's just so socially stupid.
He comes on too strong.
Yeah, that he doesn't understand.
His attempt at making that happen pushes them away. They all
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I gotta go back to my store."
Yeah.
And then Starr just smiles. It's this weird super smile, and that's it.
Which
what was
the thing that I thought he was going to say? I thought he was going to be like, "We should open a restaurant
together,
and then that way we could like have a place to sit, and also it's like a better restaurant than that shit in that shitty hotel."
Yeah.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Well, I think Saul Starr is still under the sharing agreement with Swearengen, where he can't offer gambling, women's services. I don't know if food is included in the deal.
the gym doesn't even have food, does it?
They
You're
got
right,
canned
you're right.
peaches.
I don't think it does.
You're right,
Well, they have to go out and get the fucking
He
peaches.
can't sell liquor. I know, but
Sure.
yeah, maybe it could only be grub. Yeah,
But they could, they just open a restaurant.
little
And that's
diner.
it. That's kind of what I was
Yeah.
thinking, and would be less weird.
Yeah, it's Merrick though.
but
Yeah,
I think the
exactly.
point, like many of the Merrick scenes, is definitely to show how awkward he is and how he
Yes.
fails.
I love when he first proposes, or when he first talks about like how much he enjoys hanging out with them, and they're all like kind of like, yeah, well, Charlie says, yeah, back at you as far as that goes.
Yeah,
I love that
because nobody knows what to say.
Yeah. Me too. Back at you.
Then after this scene, we see that Jimmy Irons has come up to Al Swearengen's office
He's been found,
to be interrogated about the dope.
and then that's when you find out that he's been hooking up with Leon, and they went to go get that dope, and then he's like smelling like cat piss in here.
Yeah.
And this is an amazing scene because, oh my god, he slaps the ever living shit or punches him or something.
Yeah.
And knocks Jeremy Irons on the floor, and
And that's what did it too.
and he shits himself when he hits the floor because he's like all fucked up on opium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just shits himself. He doesn't
I don't
have
know.
any.
It might be a Bob's Burger situation. Like he was gonna go right after this. Didn't expect to be knocked on his ass.
Oh, I think that's also a thing with opium or whatever. I think
Yeah.
sometimes you can't control your bowels and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so he shits himself, and then he starts talking about how he's like, "I'll just crawl my way out of here." He's like,
I better not stay.
"I better not stand." And then he's like, because I didn't get the smell out of here, because he's already been talking about the smell of cat piss and all this other stuff.
Tells
and
him to like just throw himself off the balcony.
He opens up the balcony doors. Is like, "You're gonna have to I'm gonna throw you the fuck off this balcony." And it keeps amping up to the point where he's like, "No, you're gonna throw yourself off of this fucking
just because
balcony."
of the smell, not even as a threat anymore.
No, it's
just do
like,
it.
So he crawls over there and gets over the side of the balcony and then just falls the fuck into the mud after he's already gotten this giant splinter in his hand. And
Yeah.
he keeps pointing out all this shit that's happened to him. He's
Right,
like
yeah.
trying to be like, "I paid my penance, Al, right? Get the fuck over the railing." Falls, hits the mud hard, breaks his fucking arm. They're like, "Oh, I think I broke my arm, Al."
Just lay there.
Just lay there then. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna roll out of the
Wait.
way of the horse. I don't want to get trampled now." And he rolls out of the way.
He's
Has to get permission to roll out of the way
He's
so he
so
doesn't get
compliant
trampled.
in his abuse. That's what's amusing about that.
Well, we know from Farnham's tact earlier in the season that that's the right tact to take with Al Swearengen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which
Make
is why-
yourself meek.
Which is why Persimmon Phil or Bill or whatever the hell. his
Persimmon
name is.
Phil in the series.
Persimmon Phil did kind of the same shtick.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was just like, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, whatever. You can have my takeout, whatever you want, blah blah blah." And it was just so deferential towards
yeah.
Al.
It's
That's the right take.
It's the exact same kind of scene. You're super scared of Al.
Yes.
He's like, "You've been wrong since you came in here, Jimmy.
Yep.
I know you've been lying.
Yep.
And it's
You're
like
full of shit.
And then Jimmy keeps getting funnier. And
Yep.
then it's like he's so polite in how he is tortured, and Al is so hands off after hitting him that it's like it's a comedy scene, and you're
Yeah.
like, well, this is gonna stay a comedy scene, and surely it won't go anywhere super fucking dark by the end of the episode. And it's just one of my favorite scenes in Deadwood, and I really, again, Dean Rader Duvall, great actor, as this dope thief
Yeah.
or a dope fiend who we've seen and who's always since the beginning has been talking about how his tooth hurt.
Right.
That's the only reason he's taking dope.
Yeah.
Because he's just tooth hurt. But he's
Yep.
clearly a junkie.
Yeah.
And he talks about it. But I want to say a brief little thing. In this book, Pioneer Days in the Black Hills by McClintock. It's the blue one. You don't have to get it out. But Jimmy Irons, the actual Jimmy Iron, who's not Jimmy Irons, he was not, as far as I know from this book, and I haven't, maybe I'm missing something, but he was he was a scout like Hickok or Calamity Jane, and he was killed by Indians. And maybe the show was trying to. It often has people in the town kill people and blame it on Indians, and maybe that was kind of what they're doing with Jimmy in this episode. But it's off screen.
Right.
But the actual Jimmy Iron was a noble guy who's lauded for his heroism and is killed watching over cattle just outside of Deadwood. But I don't know. He may also have been an opium thing. But rest in peace, Jimmy Iron, the actual Jimmy Iron. Reverend Smith is listening to the piano downstairs.
Oh, man.
And
Poor Reverend Smith.
Al comes over and he tells him that he should maybe get out of the gym.
That is an example of Al being like
The nicest.
you can tell that he's not just a total monster,
Right.
because he was being very gentle about his suggestion.
Yeah. He's like,
In
"Just
his
don't
way."
Come around here because, again,
Man of the cloth.
don't fuck
messes up action
with my business.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, and he could have been a lot meaner
yeah.
about it and been like, get the fuck out of here.
like
but
he was
also,
the second time.
Yeah, like he was the second time when this happened.
But that was more like, I felt like kind of a white fang kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like
Yeah.
you got to like throw rocks at a dog to get it to leave sometimes.
Yep.
Don't throw rocks at dogs.
Don't do that. But yeah, he's just sitting there listening to the piano, and he's just, and they made a point about this piano being delivered in a previous episode, and he's like, oh, that's nice, but, you need to fuck off and find somewhere else that has a piano. Is that what he says the first time?
Right, yeah.
And then he's like, who else has a piano? And he's like, I don't know. Leave.
Well, no, I think that's the second time.
That's the second time.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
The first time he walks him gently to the door.
Yes.
And he mentions that he reminds him of his brother. who
His
also
brother
had
had
that's right.
seizures.
That's right. And I think that's another reason why he's so...
He spotted it. I think
so nice.
he spotted it in a previous episode.
Yes.
Like without anyone saying
Straight
anything.
away,
Like
yeah.
he pretty much was like, something's off about him.
It was, I think, during when they're forming the government.
Yeah.
And then he falls down and he's like, "That that's the exact same thing my brother had."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You could have just said amen.
But again, does it really matter that Al has like compassion when he ultimately is pretty? His actions are quite different from his compassion.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to find things. I'm grasping at straws here.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean,
No pun intended.
Yeah.
it just means
Pun
that
was
he's
intended.
a real, a well-rounded
He's a
character, developed character.
Yes. He's a developed character
with morally gray sort
Very-
of issues.
Yes.
Pros and cons, just
Right.
like everybody.
and he doesn't hate everybody, and it's refreshing
yeah.
to see that he doesn't hate everybody.
Mhm. His malice comes from a real place, or like
Well,
any of the
yeah.
bad stuff that he does. He's like a product of his environment and
Right.
upbringing, and
Right.
and is complicated as a person, not just a boogeyman.
Right.
Well, also, he's not really killing these people. I mean, this is a fictionalized version of Al Swearengen, so we're relieved from worrying about his faults, right? As viewers of cinema, we can be like, we can watch someone murder people and be like, oh, well, those people aren't there.
Yeah.
Even though,
Well, yeah. I mean, TV is good at that anymore, getting you to root for bad people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dexter, and Breaking
Yeah.
Bad.
Right.
all right, the next scene is Joni and Eddie are at the Grand Hotel. She's gotten Tim Driscoll's old room with the bloodstain on the floor.
Right.
And she's just talking. Eddie's like, "Well, I'm gonna bankroll your new place."
She's like, "How are you gonna do that? You can't do that. You don't have any money."
And he says, "I'm gonna rob Cy." Immediately after Cy just killed two people.
It also seems like, in the way he says it, and maybe he's already been in one of these kind of movies, but it seemed like a casino heist thing where he's like, "I'm gonna rob Cy."
Well,
and
Ricky-
then it would like
At the craps table.
and then it would like show the plan or something.
Yeah, like a speed ramp,
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
top down view of it rolling out like a blueprint.
Ricky Jay is the actor's name who plays Eddie Sawyer, and
Right.
he is actually in the movie Heist a David Mamet production.
That's right. That's what I'm thinking of.
Among many other things, and he's credited as the writer of either this or the next episode.
I think he's multi-talented.
And he's in the writers' room for this season. And he recently, or he just died this year, but he recently explained, W.R. Brown recently explained on a podcast that there was conflict between Mamet and Milch over Ricky Jay's schedule, which is interesting, and I'll shut up about it right now. So after that, he explains that he's going to rob Sai through the power of magic, because he does a trick with her.
Yes. And we've already addressed the fact that he is like a magician or something in real life, right?
He's got some sleight of hand. The
actor himself.
Yeah,
actually.
But he also uses that at the craps table. He's got 2 die in his hands,
Right.
So he switches to the loaded one when he needs to.
Yep.
And you don't see it because he's and even Sai came up to him at one point watching him sort of practice, and he makes a jab about you always gave a smooth hand job too, Sai, or something like that. Something like this. I can't remember.
And Sai and him make up this episode after last episode where Sai was rattling him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And and so he has renewed vigor for being at the craps table because he knows he's going to fleece Sai. Mm-hmm. What would you put his prospects on surviving with that plan?
Man, there's a couple ways it could go. Not very good, but at the same time, we haven't seen Sai really take mercy on anyone yet, right? Yeah. But we've gotten to that point with Al where we see that with EB and all these other people. So
it kind of seems like a
possibility that might happen, but it's not very good. Is what I'm saying. It's like maybe like a 5% chance.
Yeah. Sai in this episode, I think in this episode, doesn't he ask where Joni is, and he's like he can't talk to his bartender about where Joni is without basically threatening him.
Right.
He can't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He can't do simple human activities without threatening to kill. Nobody in this show really can. Also, next is Swearengen goes to meet Sai in that same scene.
Yeah.
And he's sitting at the bar.
He's trying to figure out who of the 2 dope fiends he should kill.
Right. And he's like, "You're not fucking killing my dude." That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Sai says he disbelieves in the idea of having a Chinese person kill a Caucasian person.
Right. Exactly.
But I think that's Al getting some information on Sai's position.
Right. Exactly.
Too.
So he
not
can figure
just
out the right play.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Al says to Sai, "I'm a purveyor of spirits, dope included, and when chance affords, a thief, but I ain't no fucking hypocrite," which is a really nice line.
Yeah.
And
I also like that Sai says he's used to being around people that have to get the last word. And
he calls him on his own thing. Yeah.
And so he allows Al to have the last word, but it's it doesn't matter. To Sai, he's like, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
which again, that's such a. There's a backhanded quality to everything that Sai says.
Yes, exactly. He works his shit in on the front end.
Not subtly always either.
No, not at all.
Sometimes that's the point.
Yes.
Is that you know exactly what I'm not saying.
Yes.
And
it's a different way to approach
he's
it from,
he's
from
so
Al.
sassy.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something, I don't know. He's great.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, the dichotomy between those two is very interesting. How they approach different situations. What happens next?
All right. I guess this is talking about the bathhouse, but I swear there's something else that happens before the bathhouse. I guess we're at the bathhouse.
That's fine. We did skip ahead and then go back.
Yeah.
Stuff. So.
Oh no, wait. There is the second Reverend Smith piano sequence.
Right, when he tells he's more angry with him this time, and that's when the piano thing comes up. And,
Yeah, and there's a John in the center. And all the prostitutes are dancing in a huge circle around him.
Right, and everybody in the bar is just blown away. What's his name? Johnny.
Johnny is offended.
He's very offended
because he's a reverend. He's
his
a man.
Father is a reverend. Is that what he said? And he's like, I can't believe he's doing that.
He's not supposed to be acting like that.
And I know his brain's fucked up because of a tumor or something, but I think even with that, I don't think. He's seeing it and he's just having fun. He's just everybody's.
He's not doing anything.
He's not about the exposed breast. He's about the soothing piano music.
Right, and I don't.
He's having a good time.
I think he's staring up at their faces. Even he's just like, And he's like, oh, they're enjoying it too.
Everyone's having a good time.
Everyone's having a great time. And then Al sees this and just like loses his shit.
You got to get him out of here. Yeah.
This would be another case where if Al wasn't prone to rage, I feel like he could just let that fucking slide. I mean, because it's just like...
But he ends up letting it slide because he realizes the preacher doesn't remember.
I mean, I just don't know how scandal. This is a saloon where people are regularly murdered and fed to pigs.
Yes.
Like, how bad is it that there's a preacher there listening to a piano?
Right. Well, to ask Johnny, I mean, that's like one of those sort of weird things where it's like all sorts of things are taboo things are permitted in here, but that was like a stretch too far.
We don't want God looking down on us while we're drinking and whoring.
So it's kind of, and again, like what he was doing wasn't even really a big deal. But,
but it can be perceived a certain way.
Right. There's what the line is between what's appropriate and not.
Yes.
Is different for different people,
Yep.
I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now we're at
the bathhouse. Well, first Al is talking to Adams, and he says, he's alternately insulting Adams and trying to invite him into his confidence.
Right, and that's when they see Cy looking down on him, and Al hit him up earlier for more bribe money.
Yeah,
and that's when he throws it down after. I like that moment too because he's talking about in coded ways about Cy, who's looking down on him, and Al looks up at him, and then he looks back down at what's his name? Adams. And is like, appreciate you for not looking up there.
Yeah, right, yeah. Which was, again, another test, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
It's
this
like,
whole thing is a test.
This guy's pretty sharp.
To see exactly how sharp this guy is. If he's just another bumbling idiot I can use, that's one thing. But if this guy's actually like tack sharp,
I might add him to the payroll.
I can use him like a Dan.
Yeah.
Dan is sharper than a lot of other people. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not exactly like fucking Einstein, but
he's not book smart.
I ain't book smart. He's street smart.
Yeah. But he puts on a front, a kind of a southern drawl front, and then is actually pretty quick with his knife and doing what Al says.
Yes, exactly.
And Adams, I forget what I was going to say about Adams. Shit.
But like you were saying, the thing where he's like, do you think is the other guy spoiling for a fight? And like in that moment, like it's answered because Cy just drops the money down like onto the ground.
Yep. And who bends down to get it up? It's not Al.
Right.
Yeah, it's Adams.
Yeah.
It's like because he's just sitting there staring at Cy.
And they're like, just like
I'm not gonna bend down and pick that shit up out of the mud. Fuck you.
Cy is often on his balcony like Al, and it's the lowest angle I think we ever see Cy from.
Yeah.
Where it's like he looks like he's on the roof.
He is kind of. He's over the sign and everything.
Right.
It's so weird. I also, when I first saw this, I thought Adams was too credulous. Like, if you meet some dude who's like talking about a murder warrant and he wants to kill your boss, and he's like, "Come with me, I gotta go execute someone in a bathhouse."
Yeah.
Like, but I'm reassured by the fact that I think you can see Hawkeye at the end has been following him down the street.
Right.
So he had his buddy backing him up.
Yeah, exactly.
On the other side of the street.
Yeah. So he's not stupid.
Yeah, but okay, so then we go to the bathhouse, and Leon and Jimmy Irons have been
They're in the tub
naked. And
they're just so thankful. Al, thank you.
Because they got to shoot up
so much. And they got to take a bath because they both look like fucking shit constantly.
Right. How many times a month do you think that happens?
Yeah, never. So they're just so apologetic. And you can tell it's been kind of rehearsed because, and Dan's there waiting already in there.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's been kind of rehearsed between Leon and Jeremy Irons. Because
Jimmy Irons.
because Jimmy at one point they just stop because Leon was supposed to keep thanking Al, and he's like kind of like nudging him. He's like, "Oh, I mean, we really appreciate this."
Well, he had nodded off as you do when you shoot heroin, I guess, or morphine or opium. I'm clear on the distinctions.
Yeah.
But like. Jimmy, again, to me, is like such a polite individual.
Yes.
My money is on Leon for the person who actually killed the courier.
Yeah.
And Jimmy for the person who did not kill anyone.
Right.
See, maybe, but I feel like the politeness of Jimmy is all him thinking he's getting away with it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's nothing genuine about his politeness.
I love Jimmy's politeness.
I love it.
For once, I can see it both ways.
But I kind of always
possible.
feel like he feels like he's figured it out.
Yeah.
And he's gonna get away with it.
Right.
And that's why he's the way he is.
But up until a certain point,
And then
until Al pulls the straw out of
and then he's drawing that out as long as he can.
Like, Al, can I just make sure that one of them's shorter than the other one?
Well, that's pretty smart.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
basically saying, I don't want to be tricked and murdered.
Yeah,
I have a chance to not be murdered.
Yeah, exactly.
He also makes a throwaway reference to like my addiction's been a torture to me since childhood.
Right.
Like he just is like recognizes very clearly.
He always tries to do that. He always tries to act like I'm already tortured enough, Al.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything more to me.
He's practiced in talking his way out of trouble.
And this time it ain't gonna
on,
happen.
on the other side of the bathtub is Leon, and he presents almost no positive qualities.
No.
He says
He's good and high.
Yeah.
he says that he wants to kiss Wu and blow him with fucking soap.
Yes.
Yeah.
He just keeps talking about bring him here, and I'll put him in the bath with me,
and I'll kiss him,
and I'll kiss him, and then I'll blow him with soap.
With soap.
But I keep thinking like, what the fuck does that mean?
Does he like put it in like soap his mouth up or like?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he's going to use soap as a lubricant. Maybe it's not actual soap.
Okay.
Has he got a dry mouth?
But
chronic dry mouth.
Yeah, but I mean, that's actually nicer than a lot of the things that he says.
Then he starts getting real racist.
He gets really racist. He says a lot of horrible things about Chinese people, but he also he doesn't even know where he is.
No.
He doesn't even understand how to protect himself.
Nope.
He even says earlier, he's like, I'm so high, I don't know how to speak for myself.
Yes.
He throws up.
Yes.
Earlier. Yeah. And so, of the two, I really wanted Jimmy Irons to live. And in fact, Jimmy Irons was supposed to live. And apparently at the last moment, Milch said, it's better for the drama that Jimmy Irons dies.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It really does.
It makes sense in the context of the episode, too. Like I don't know how they would have rationalized it.
Sai would have lost his fucking shit.
Unless they were planning on having Sai and him be more at odds.
Yeah, if there was going to start an all-out war or something.
I mean, I think it gets so complicated, his reasons for not killing one or the other. Like,
yeah.
I feel like they could have gone the other way and just had it be some tension, but, like, it wouldn't have, like...
I think spun into another situation to fuse.
But I think, in defense of that decision, I just don't see how you get around there just being open warfare then between the two of them, between Sai and Al. I mean, because all he has to do then is be like, he killed one of my guys for a Chinese man.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, him killing one of his own guys, who cares? Al does that all the time. Fuck it. But like, if he can have that righteous indignation of he killed somebody who wasn't even in his employ to satisfy this Chinese man's
it feels like the smarter move to kill your own guy, because then you can it's still
and you can
proving
lie.
A point to Sai,
and you can lie and be like, that never happened. He rode off and didn't come back or whatever. Or something.
Rode to Yankton,
which is and Al picks Jimmy up by the legs and puts his neck, his foot on his neck and drowns him in what looks like milk water.
Yes. Because there's so much soap or something in the water, I guess. And then he turns to whatever his name is. Leon, and is just like, don't fucking throw up this time. As I don't want to fucking smell that shit.
In addition, he says the Paul Simon lyric, don't call me Al.
Yes, he does. Don't call me Al as he's walking out.
But actually, before he puts his foot on his neck and starts to drown him, and then we cut it away to a heartwarming scene between Bullock, Starr, and the Reverend Smith.
Yes,
where the Reverend Smith doesn't know who he is,
and I almost teared up.
Yeah,
we both did.
Yes,
it's a very sad scene.
I got
misty-eyed.
I got misty, yeah.
And the Reverend Smith doesn't know who he was, and he thinks that Bullock and Starr might be demons.
Right.
And he just wants to know.
He's starting to hallucinate, I guess, a little bit.
They are the two people in camp who have been most kind to him.
Right.
Yeah.
And that he doesn't recognize them as his friends.
Yeah.
And Seth kind of really cares for him, but also kind of wants to get him out of the store.
Yeah.
And they're
it was.
And they offer to him what people have pointed this out, what they didn't offer to Merrick. They offer a walk.
Right. That's true.
And they're like, they're there for the Reverend, at least in this episode.
Yes.
And they are like, just again, the music swells,
Yes.
and you feel like, oh my God, these two tough dudes who run this hardware store care about this reverend.
Right.
It was a compassionate act to
Yeah.
walk him to his tent.
His eyes a little bit too crazy.
Man,
and
it's like down, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like almost underneath his eyelid.
I wonder how is that just like
probably a contact or
contact with like a lot of white around it that they just
I think you can see his actual pupil through the white.
through it?
It may be a shadow, but I
little
think you
bit?
can see a little bit of his real pupil.
Oh.
Well, I do notice that when he blinks, it's like in a different position,
Sure.
and you see it kind of drift and things. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a good effect.
Yeah.
But it's almost like cartoony, like a lot of things
Right.
with the Reverend and Calamity. Like it's a little bit higher pitched than all the other performances.
Right.
So then we cut back to Al finishing the drowning of Jimmy Irons, and then just wrapping up to threaten Leon and punching him, and
Punches him in the fucking eye. and then
walking
he
out for an
walks out,
evening stroll with Adams.
in which he says that his mother was a monkey.
Yeah,
He says his
About his haircut.
His
Yeah.
haircut makes it look like his mother fucked a monkey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, his mother fucked a monkey.
But then he changes that to the mother is a monkey in the next
Oh, yeah,
thing,
yeah.
which is like the most nitpicky thing. The most nitpicky thing
Well,
to
I mean,
say. Because that's one of my favorite parts is the callback to that.
Right.
He was like, she wouldn't recognize you. I have to smell you all over to know you were hers. Meaning my mucky mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it is also confusing that Adams takes no offense.
Nope.
It's just like, and again,
Oh, well, everyone takes it as Al being chummy.
Yeah.
Like even Johnny's like just that fucking affectionate.
Yeah.
Yeah. In this episode, they don't go further into their future arrangements. That's
No.
the next episode. Okay. Okay. And
What's
then
left?
I guess. Oh, I think they then deliver the body of Jimmy Irons to Mr. Wu. And and another thing I want to point out that I love is that for just a second during the scene where Jimmy is about to be drowned, they cut to Dan, and he looks just for a second. If you look at his eyes, it looks like he's welling up in his eyes, as he often does when he's about to have to kill someone or kill someone. So you're like, oh, Dan is like he feels for killing his friend Jimmy.
Yeah.
But instead, he delivers his body to Wu and says, "Say you're sorry, Jimmy."
Say you're
And
sorry.
then throws his friend, his person who he helped, into the goddamn mud,
Right.
where he is eaten by fucking pigs, as
Yeah.
he said earlier. Please don't feed me to the fucking pigs, Mr. Swearengen.
Yeah.
And then we see his lifeless form and hear the squealing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you hear him running over it.
Yep.
The pigs know what's up now.
Oh yeah.
If you trip and fall in
king.
that pen,
Yeah, you're fucked.
you better be trying to get back up.
Yep. I half expected him to like come back for a second or
Yeah.
something. Like the water comes out of his lungs or
Yeah.
something.
If
Just from the
only.
impact.
And then he's like, it's just brutally eaten by these pigs.
I just feel sorry for the actor. Like he
Yeah.
thought he was going to be in the show, and apparently he, according to like the guy who plays Ellsworth, Jim Beaver, he was walking around, he was talking to, he seemed to really appreciate the show more than
Yeah.
the other actors.
Yeah.
And then he was also talking to Leon and saying, "I'm sorry that you're leaving. It's been good working with you."
Oh.
And then they just switched at the last moment and killed him off.
So you've got some behind the scenes knowledge that. See, I didn't know that.
This is the guy who plays Ellsworth and the guy who plays Mr. Wu, who's I think is, oh gosh, I forget Mr. Wu's real name, but they both comment on a writer named Alan Sepinwall's blog. He does episode by episode reviews on like a hit fix about 5 to 10 years ago, and they would comment in the blog, and he verified them as the actual people.
Oh.
And so they have all this discussion of the filming of individual episodes.
Cool.
Is that the end of the episode?
That is the end of the episode. We end on Mr. Wu staring after, I think Al Swearengen wonders if this will end in blood or something, and then they just walk off.
Right.
And Mr. Wu's all puffed up with pride
That he got something
yeah.
for all this shit.
Or
And
maybe-
and everyone saw that go down.
Yep,
That, like
exactly.
people don't get away with stealing from me.
Exactly.
I mean, like there's like probably about 20 to 30 people who just saw them dump a body in a pig pen.
Yes,
And they
which
don't
is
get-
very, very unlike some of the a lot of the other times this happens. It's
Yeah.
like it's dead of night, nobody's there, and this time it was in the night, but like
There
was a
people
crowd.
about. Yeah, yeah.
there was a crowd.
Maybe even there, there's more and more people.
Yeah, that's true.
But rest in peace, Jimmy Irons.
Yeah.
He will be missed.
Anyways.
Anyways.
Up to beavers slapping logs.